We're Kim and Al. We have been planning our escape from a fast-paced corporate life since we met 10 years ago. Freedom 45. This year, we finally pulled the ripcord. We quit our jobs, sold our home in the city, bought a property in the sticks, and are building an off-grid home ourselves. We're excited to share our experience as we create our new life on the North River.
Hey folks, welcome to the dead air enclosure. It's awesome, like dead sound. It's like recording studio. We have one wall behind us here that doesn't have any vapor barrier on, and obviously pretty sound absorbing. I digress. You can see we just got our LED lights hooked up. So in getting the trailer in here, it was a pretty tight squeeze. So we ended up taking the awning off, and with the awning were the integrated LED lights. And then I just had the thought, go on Amazon and buy some LED lights, and then wired it all farm jobby into the existing wiring, so we can still flip the awning switch and it turns on these lights that will light up the enclosure. We haven't cut out our windows yet because we don't get those until December, but looking forward to that for sure. And I just wanted to explain really quickly both those systems. So really simple. The lights are just two wires sticking out of the trailer that I had clipped that were attached to the LED light bar that was in the awning. So I just had to twist those together with the wires that came with the Amazon lights that we bought. So this is our furnace venting system. Obviously we're still using the trailer furnace. I have to go pick up our wood stove probably in the next week or so. We're also going to call about getting a larger propane tank so that we can get either a propane furnace, like an actual wall-mounted furnace, or at least some kind of a space heater system. But in either case, we need venting. Right now we're using the trailer furnace, so if we were just to run the trailer in the garage, we would asphyxiate ourselves with carbon monoxide, because it would just be venting the exhaust from the propane furnace into this, kind of like running a barbecue indoors, probably worse. So what I did is I used a in-duct booster fan that you would use for, say, a dryer vent, and a dryer coil, like the 4-inch flexible hosing, and used aluminum tape to affix that to the vent for the furnace. What I learned though is that you have to make sure that you maintain some outside venting. So what I did is I lifted up the tape at two spots to create basically an inlet port, so it can inhale, so to speak, like bring in air and then blow it out through the fan with the exhaust. If you don't do that, what happens is there's a built-in mechanism that will choke out the furnace as soon as the gas kicks in, and it can't get that inflow. It basically signals the system to shut down, saying something's wrong. So I wanted to make sure too that opening up those holes, that I wasn't allowing a place for exhaust to vent. So what I did is I took two tissue paper, like Kleenex, and laid them up, like just held them up to the holes coming out either side, and then saw it get sucked in like a vacuum effect, like basically sucking the Kleenex up against the hole. It's the same thing you can do with a piece of paper if you're trying to test the exhaust fans in a bathroom or whatever, to make sure they're actually creating suction. So I know that it's inhaling air, blowing it up through the vent, and blowing it out. So that also heats up the tubes themselves when it's running and creates a little parasitic heat that's heating the enclosure. And then the next step will be, because right now what I do is I plug this thing in, which turns the fan on, then we turn on the furnace and we heat the trailer up until it's like super toasty, and then we basically turn off the furnace and unplug this thing. Because if I left it running continuously with the furnace off, it would just be sucking all the warm air out of the trailer and out of the area. So my next little invention is I ordered a sail switch, which is a little switch that's meant to be blown into the open position, closed circuit position. So I'm going to jerry-rig a little MacGyvered system where when the furnace is turned on, the blower will start immediately the fan, which will create an outflow in that tube, blow the sail switch over, which will then turn this fan on. So when the furnace turns on, the exhaust fan turns on, and then when the furnace stops and the blower stops, then the sail switch comes back and it will turn off the exhaust fan. So those two will work in tandem together. But we won't get that for another week or so. So for now, what we're doing is turning on the furnace, heating up the trailer, and then turning it off. And then, once it cools down to whatever, we find it starting to get cool, turn the furnace on again, add, rinse, repeat. So a little manual and laborious, but that's going to change in a little bit.
was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in old conversations, oh, 'cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting. But then you came along and proved me all wrong. I was so mistaken, 'cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. I was never the one to give up the ghost. No, I was so stuck. I kept on playing my part, wanting to give up 'cause nothing was changing. But with you it's so clear, and now that you're here I see colors in every spectrum. Guess I finally learned my lesson, 'cause you glue all the pieces back together.
Hi guys.
Oh, hey there.
So we are in the enclosure officially. Super excited. Yeah. So it's a lot warmer in here already. The weather's gotten colder. It really was great that we got here just in the nick of time. So just really happy that we're in here, and it's a lot easier at night to warm up the trailer, and then it stays warm because it's not the...
Well, it's not sitting out in the wind. Like the trailer is like maybe R12 and like a sloppy R12 at best. Like there's all kinds of air leaks, and it's a camper. So just the fact that it has a slide out or a kick out all by itself, like we sit on the couch and you can just feel this unearthly evil presence coming up around. This just drafts.
Yeah.
Like it's waterproof, right? If it rains, rainwater won't get in, but it's not meant for winter use or anything. So when we're out there on the field and the wind comes through, it just strips all the heat away from underneath and around and over top and yada yada. So having it in the enclosure means the air is static, and so now we just until we have our kind of more sophisticated system for exhausting the furnace, we just turn the furnace on and turn on the fan manually. While that's running, it heats the trailer up nice and toasty, and then we turn it off, and then when when it starts to settle to a point where it gets cool, we turn it on again. But now that we're in here, it stays warm for a long time.
Yeah, and the enclosure part stays warm.
Yeah, heat escapes.
We don't have our wood stove yet, which we are still planning on doing, or some version of that, and it's warm in here, right? Like when you come outside, it's warmer in here, and then of course it's warmer in the trailer. But we can see already, because basically we've doubled our square footage by adding, by being in here. And so now that we have the rest of the vapor barrier up, well, we still have to do this wall.
That's one remaining. So as you know from previous videos, we did the one half to start, and then once we had the trailer in, we insulated the other half, all walls except for one where we have some exhaust venting, and then we put vapor barrier up and over in one big complete piece to finish the other half, but the roof and the back and front walls. So all we have left is this wall here.
Yeah, and we were waiting on that wall because we weren't sure what we were going to do with the windows. At first we were thinking we were going to put vapor barrier, like cut them out and put vapor barrier on either side so that we got some light in here. But it's basically a month away until we get our windows, and we want to just flash them properly and do them properly the way that we did the door. So
yeah,
we're just gonna wait. It's not that big of a deal. We've got the lights in here for now. I mean, we are in a little bit of a box.
Yeah, it's a cotton candy box, as you can see, right? And baby steps to get it finished and more livable. But it's got everything we need now to keep us comfortable. And what we found is that the home wrap, the Tyvek that wraps around the house, is actually fairly translucent. So the one makeshift wall that we created, we covered it with Tyvek, and our plan was to cut it out and somehow flash it or tape it to keep water out. But it lets in a fair bit of light, at least enough to illuminate the space. And so what we're thinking now is we'll just take the OSB out and leave the Tyvek behind, vapor barrier the wall so that it's complete. And then again, like Kim said, it's just a month before we get windows proper, so we're not really interested in doing anything too sophisticated in the meantime.
Well, and the truth is we spent all of our days outside. So
we sure do.
You know, especially now, it's dark when we come in. So it's not that big of a deal for a month to just have it a bit
and the
darker
LEDs
anymore.
actually keep it pretty light at night. The only thing is, it reminds me of our house in Toronto. It's a little what's the word? Murky, dark,
Vampire-like?
Vampire-like, perhaps cryptic. Yeah, cryptish. No, just a little dark, because again, we have 4 clerestory windows that are going to bring a ton of light in here once they're installed. So yeah. We'll get there.
So, I mean, the truth is we are so excited to be at this stage. It's, you know, this has been the point that we wanted to get to, because we've been really looking forward to just slowing down and organizing everything, the shipping container and this area, and Al with his tools, and just kind of giving ourselves time to rest and relax.
My tools are scattered to the 4 winds. It's driving me nuts. The brink of insanity. And I'm already a highly disorganized person, so even by my own standards, it's too much. I can't find anything anymore. I got to kind of regroup and get everything back into its assigned bags and labeled and stuff. And nice and
just have time to do that, because the way that this week started for us is we found a little bit of water around the
the day after we got sealed in, we got hit with this rainstorm. It was like 60-kilometer-an-hour winds that are driving the rain in from the southeast, and so in the morning there was water that had come underneath onto the floor, and what I realized was I used that foam in a can to seal around the base between the sill plate, like the plate that the board that connects to the foundation with the bolts that come through. So what's happening is, if you look at it from the side, you got this kind of popcorn bubble of foam, and then the water comes down, it gets trapped in between that and the wall, worms its way in, as water will always do, and then made its way into the enclosure just underneath. And we're not talking like water that you have to mop up. You could just see that the pavement was wet everywhere, except the southeast where the wind was actually driving in. So the insulation that we had left on the ground, like on a pile, leftover chunks, was all sopping like a sponge. Yeah. So a little bit concerning, but an easy fix. Just a little bit of labor. We went around the rim with the same asphalt we used for the roof. So we just kind of shellacked it along the edge between the sill plate and the foundation, and then we wrapped it with the Tyvek. So we should be nice and dry now.
Yeah.
If anything, we got a moisture problem a little bit. The windows are a little bit sweaty, if you will.
Yeah, we might have to get our dehumidifier out.
Yeah, it depends on how long it takes us to get the wood stove, because once the wood stove's in, it'll dry the air out like nobody's business. If anything, it's a fight, kind of like with our radiator heat in Toronto, to keep things humid when you have a wood stove or radiant heat.
Yeah. So, pretty great though. We solved that problem. We're to the point now with the house where we've only got 2 walls left to do. So that's good, because we do have some rain coming in the next couple days, I think in 2 days from now.
Yeah, and they're partially done already, so we just have a couple more rows of Tyvek to do, and a little bit of landscaping and a bust out the tractor, because we have a spot where, landscaping 101 or foundation 101, at least as I understand it. Again, I'm not an expert in what I don't know Phil's libraries. But you want everything to slope away from your building, so that water naturally, any water that hits the ground is going to go immediately away from the structure. And on the north side, it's kind of a dip, and there's a spot where there's more dirt, kind of further out from the building. So not only is it dripping off the edge of the building, because we don't have a gutter yet, but it's collecting in there. And it was like some kind of tough mud or obstacle course. It was probably about a 3/4 foot of mud, half foot of mud, and like clay, slippery, skating around in it mud. So
got a lot of dirt out there.
We got to do some drainage and some landscaping to slope the ground away and let that water drain off into the yard, instead of making a quagmire for us to
we just we want to get it ready so that when it's spring, like everything comes up and we don't have to fix a bunch of piles.
Yeah, we don't want to keep
before.
digging, because we're disturbing the grass, and then you leave these big ugly cuts and scars in the yard, and we're trying to heal it back up, if you will. Like, it's nice because the ground is so productive, the grass will fill in fairly quickly. Like even when we had the shipping container delivered, there were these huge ruts that the tires tires left that dropped the truck, the can off, the sea can or the shipping container, and already they've filled in. Like we just went down with some earth and filled it in. The grass grew right through and spread around, and you wouldn't even know they were there.
We're really lucky that way. So when the spring comes up, we're sure that it's going to look amazing. It just we have to just kind of get it to the point where we want it to be
before the ground freezes and it's too hard to work.
So, and we're really looking, like, we're just so excited to be at this point because now we can actually slow down. So we can actually just
take a breather. We're pretty worn out. Like, we've been going all summer, pretty nonstop, project to project, and
we don't really take a lot of downtime.
No. Even some of the other like YouTubers that we watch that do this stuff, that they tend to make weekends regimental and they take them off, and we probably should start adopting something like that. But at least at this point, like, this was the last thing that we really felt we had to get done. It wasn't like we wanted to spend December and January in the trailer out in the field. It wouldn't have worked. Things would have frozen. No. It would have been a stressful nightmare. Yeah. So now we're safe and secure and dry and warm, and we can start puttering.
And just feeling really relieved. So, yeah. That's where we're at, and we gotta finish wrapping the house. And once we're done that, we can start to organize and get ourselves all set.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
Yeah. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.